Madness in individuals is something rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epochs it is the rule. Friedrich Nietzsche. You stand in a cold hall of silence. It is 1889 Turin. A man collapses onto the neck of a beaten horse, tears streaming, arms trembling. The crowd stares. The man is Friedrich Nietzsche, once a philosopher, now a broken shadow. His words had thundered against heaven itself, yet society called him mad. This moment is more than tragedy. It is a warning. When a mind dares to stare too deeply into truth, the world often turns away in terror. Nietzsche's fall was not merely the fall of a man, it was the fall of comfort, of illusions, of the safe lies that society needs to keep breathing. Centuries later, Carl Jung would face a similar abyss, confronting the shadows of the human soul. He dared to speak of archetypes, the darkness buried in every heart. And again, society whispered, dangerous, unstable, too much. Why do the deepest thinkers frighten us so? Perhaps because they strip away masks we are not ready to lose. This is the legacy we explore here, where ideas become weapons, and thinkers walk the razor's edge between revelation and ruin. You are listening to Legend's Legacy, a place where history's most unsettling minds rise again, not to comfort you, but to confront you. Now tell me, do you fear the thoughts that break society's silence, or do you crave them? Share your answer below. And if you carry the courage to walk deeper into this darkness, subscribe to Legend's Legacy. Your journey into dangerous wisdom begins here. You stand in the marketplace. The people laugh, the vendors shout, and a madman bursts through the crowd with a lantern in broad daylight. He screams of death, not of flesh, but of God. The crowd mocks him, yet his words carve a wound into history. Nietzsche was not announcing triumph. He was sounding an alarm. With the death of God, the scaffolding of meaning collapses. Morality, law, order, mere constructions trembling in the void. He saw it first. Without a divine anchor, humanity would drift, searching for new idols, nation, ideology, wealth. And in their hunger, they would fall prey to nihilism, the sickness of believing in nothing. You feel the weight of his vision pressing against your chest. Society thrives on certainty, on promises of heaven, on moral codes that soothe the restless spirit. Nietzsche shattered these illusions. He asked the unbearable question, if no higher power gives us meaning, will you create your own, or will you be crushed by emptiness? To many, his words were poison. To others, liberation. But both responses carried fear. For what is more terrifying than freedom without guideposts? Jung, years later, would try to answer the same dread. When Nietzsche tore down, Jung sought to rebuild, yet both faced the same accusation: you are dangerous. You are unraveling the safe fabric of society. Nietzsche's shadow still stretches over us. Every time you hear a voice question authority, mock tradition, or challenge dogma, you hear an echo of the madman with his lantern. But the question remains, are you bold enough to bear this shadow? Or will you cling to the comfort of illusions? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. You close your eyes. Beneath the surface of thought, beneath the masks you wear in public, lies a storm. Carl Jung called it the unconscious, a vast, shifting ocean of forgotten desires, fears, and ancient symbols. While Nietzsche tore down the heavens, Jung dared to look inward, into the labyrinth of the soul. Jung spoke of archetypes, the timeless patterns of hero, shadow, trickster, mother, that haunt every culture and every dream. He told us that within you lives not only light, but darkness, rage, envy, hunger, the very instincts you deny. He named it the shadow. And he warned, ignore it, and it will consume you from within. Society recoiled. To acknowledge the unconscious was to admit that reason is not master. That civilization itself is built upon fragile walls restraining primal chaos. Jung knew this, and he walked dangerously close to his own madness in exploring it. During his Red Book years, he recorded visions of gods, monsters, and voices that nearly broke him. Yet he insisted, if you dare to face your inner abyss, you may find not ruin, but wholeness. Individuation, he called it, the uniting of conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, into a self no longer divided. But ask yourself, what frightens society more? A man who questions God, or a man who forces you to confront the darkness you hide from yourself? Jung's words stripped away not heaven, but your illusions of innocence. And that is why both Nietzsche and Jung are feared. They confront us with truths too heavy to bear. One looks upward, the other inward, but both force you to stand naked before the void. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. Sigmund Freud. You feel it now, the weight of their words. Nietzsche stripping away the heavens. Jung tearing open the soul. Both offered freedom, yet neither offered comfort. And that is the paradox. Freedom is the most terrifying gift of all. Nietzsche demanded you create your own values, to become the Übermensch, the one who forges meaning in a godless world. But creation requires courage. It requires shattering old idols, enduring loneliness, and carrying burdens without guidance. Few can bear such fire. Most retreat into herd morality, clinging to systems that think for them. Jung's freedom was no gentler. He asked you to confront the unconscious, to meet your shadow face to face. To see, without denial, the darkness you project onto others. This too was unbearable. For who wants to admit the cruelty, envy, and lust buried beneath their mask of decency? To individuate was to become whole, but wholeness means carrying the monster as well as the saint. And so, society recoiled. Nietzsche was branded mad, Jung eccentric and dangerous. Their ideas unsettled the fragile illusion that we are safe, moral, and guided. Because true freedom strips away every excuse. It leaves you alone before the mirror, forced to admit, the life I live is mine to shape, or mine to waste. This is why deep thinkers frighten society. Not because they destroy, but because they liberate. And liberation is heavier than chains. Now the question turns to you, will you embrace this burden, or hide within the walls built by others? A thinker sees his own actions as experiments and questions, as attempts to find out something. Success and failure are for him answers above all. Friedrich Nietzsche. The line between prophet and man is paper thin. You see Nietzsche, collapsing in Turin, whispering fragments of forgotten gods. Was he broken? Or was he consumed by truths too unbearable for ordinary minds? Jung too flirted with the abyss. In his solitude, he surrendered to visions, serpents, crimson seas, voices of ancient figures whispering through his mind. To many, this was delusion. Yet from those visions emerged the foundation of his psychology. His madness was also his method. History has often crucified its visionaries. Socrates poisoned, Bruno burned, Nietzsche silenced, Jung ridiculed. Society brands them insane because their truths tear through the skin of convention. To protect its order, society sacrifices its prophets. But perhaps the deeper terror lies here, their madness reflects our own. The unconscious Jung described dwells in you. The abyss Nietzsche warned of yawns beneath your own feet. To dismiss them as insane is safer than admitting their mirror points directly at you. Think of it, what if the voices Nietzsche heard were not madness, but the echoes of a dying age? What if Jung's visions were not delusions, but the language of the psyche speaking in myth? Vision and madness are not opposites, they are twins. Too much light blinds, too much darkness consumes. And the thinker who dares to hold both burns at the edges of sanity. So ask yourself, when society calls a mind dangerous, do you hear the cry of madness? Or the whisper of vision? The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. Friedrich Nietzsche. Their voices did not die with them. Nietzsche's thunder and Jung's shadows ripple across centuries, shaping the very world you walk through. Yet their legacy is not one of comfort, it is one of fear. Nietzsche's cry against false idols echoes in every revolution that dares to topple authority. His suspicion of morality reappears whenever society questions the motives of its leaders, its religions, its systems of control. He warned us that nihilism would spread like a plague, and in the headlines of despair, addiction, and meaninglessness, you see his prophecy fulfilled. Jung's archetypes live on in cinema, literature, politics, even advertising. Every hero's journey, every battle between good and evil, every confrontation with a shadowed villain is shaped by his vision. Yet his deeper challenge, to face your own shadow, remains largely ignored. Society embraces the myth but avoids the mirror. And so their ideas still frighten. Because to embrace Nietzsche fully is to admit no safety net exists. To embrace Jung is to admit the monsters we fight outside are born within. These truths are as unsettling now as they were a century ago. But here lies their true legacy. They did not seek to destroy society for destruction's sake. They sought to awaken it. They risked their sanity so that you might confront yours. And the fear they leave behind is not a curse, it is a call. A call to step beyond comfort. A call to bear freedom. A call to meet yourself. And now the burden shifts. Their voices echo in your ears. The question is no longer about Nietzsche or Jung. It is about you. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. You stand at the crossroads. Behind you lies the comfort of certainty, the safety of tradition, the warmth of illusions. Ahead lies the path Nietzsche and Jung carved, a road of solitude, fire, and confrontation. To walk it is to bear the heaviest burden, the freedom to shape your own destiny, and the courage to face the darkness within. Nietzsche once warned that those who fight monsters must take care not to become monsters themselves. Jung replied, in his own way, that only by befriending the monster within can we ever hope to be whole. Two voices, two directions, but both converging on the same terrifying truth: society fears deep thinkers because they force us to awaken. And awakening is painful. It strips away excuses, comforts, and the innocence of ignorance. But it also reveals power, the power to live deliberately, to create values, to transform chaos into meaning. So I ask you, whose vision calls to you more? Nietzsche's fire that destroys illusions so you may create anew? Or Jung's descent into the soul, where wholeness waits beyond the shadow? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let us see which path stirs your spirit. And if your heart beats faster at questions like these, if you feel the pull toward dangerous wisdom, toward history's most unsettling minds, then carry this journey forward. Subscribe to Legend's Legacy, where we keep alive the voices that society fears most. Because here, we do not chase comfort. Here, we chase truth. And truth, as Nietzsche and Jung remind us, is never safe.